Hey, all children of our Redeemer. This is Pastor Dan with another All About Advent installment that I'd like to share with you today. And this particular person that I want to lift up and share with you here in this Advent and Christmas season is not necessarily a historical, traditional person like we've heard about in terms of remembering St. Nicholas and St. Lucia, as we have talked about them the last couple weeks. But today is perhaps maybe a little bit more of a modern person that I think embodies many of the saintly qualities and characteristics that we look for in the people that proclaim the good news. But this person, if you looked in the Bible, if you looked in the tradition and the history of the church, you really wouldn't find them. But I think that in the story that I'm going to share with you today, I think you might agree with me that they might qualify as being a saint, a saintly person, if you will. And that person here is this young man right here. Now, some of you might recognize this. This is Linus from the Peanuts comic strip from Charlie Brown. And Linus, as you might recall, is the younger brother to Lucy. Some of the things that we know about Linus through the comics is he's a very thoughtful, deep-thinking young man, often has perhaps the greatest wisdom to offer, and he's among the youngest of the Peanut characters that we have. But the other characteristics about Linus that is often associated with him is that he always will go everywhere with this blue blanket of his. Linus is almost never found to be without it. He has it there as a way of comfort and security, and you can see in this particular picture, it also looks like he's maybe sucking on his thumb there for some comfort. And so Linus, throughout all these comic strips, he uses his blanket in a wide variety of ways, but it often is there for comfort and to keep him, to help him feel safe. So the reason why I think I want to lift up Linus today is I'm sure that many of you in the season of Christmas, getting ready for Christmas, you've watched probably a lot of Christmas movies, and I'm sure that you've got your favorites. You can think about things such as Home Alone, or How the Grinch Stole Christmas, or Charlie Brown's Christmas Carol, or maybe A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, and there's the Nutcracker, and there's a whole bunch of wonderful stories that we tell around the Christmas season. But the thing I want to talk about with regards to Linus, or Saint Linus, as I'm going to call him, is that in a Charlie Brown Christmas, one of the things that Linus does is that if you recall, they were supposed to put on a Christmas play, and Charlie Brown was chosen to be the director. And one of the things that everybody said is that you have to go out and get a Christmas tree. And so Charlie Brown tries to go out and get a Christmas tree, and as Charlie Brown often is prone to doing, he doesn't seem to do things maybe the right way, or the way that everybody else wants him to do it. And so he brings back this really small, puny, tiny Christmas tree that the needles are falling off. And he brings it back and he sets it down, and he's so proud of it. But then everybody else makes fun of Charlie Brown. They call him, blockhead. They say, you can't do anything right. And so Charlie Brown is so frustrated because he just wants people to know what the true meaning of Christmas is all about. And so to nobody in particular, he yells out, "Can't anyone tell me what Christmas is all about?" And of course, Linus says, "Sure, Charlie Brown, I'll tell you what Christmas is all about." And then Linus proceeds to go to the center of the stage that they're rehearsing on, and he calls everybody to, ask for the lights to come down, and everybody's there silently. And Linus then begins to tell them the story of Christmas. And Linus basically tells the story that we will hear on Christmas Eve from Luke's Gospel, Luke chapter 2. And Linus is up there, and he's got his blanket, and he's holding on to it, and he begins to tell the story. And he talks about the shepherds being out in the fields, and about how all of a sudden there was an angel of the Lord that appeared to the shepherds, and the shepherds were scared, and the angel said, "Fear not." But if you pay really close attention, what happens when Linus gets to that part of the story, when he says, "Fear not," guess what he does with his blanket? He drops it. And for the rest of the story that he tells about the angel being there and about the tidings of great joy for all people, and that a little baby is born in the town of Bethlehem there in a manger, and it's Christ the Lord, and it's babies wrapped in swaddling clothing, and everybody's gathered together, and they say, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and peace and goodwill towards men, towards all people." That whole time, Linus almost forgets about his blanket. It's not even there. And after he's done proclaiming the good news, he of course picks up his blanket and he goes to Charlie Brown. He says, "That's what Christmas is all about." So the reason that I want to lift up Linus as possibly being a saint is because, first of all, among all the stories and movies and shows that we talk about for Christmas, here we get the story. We get the story of Christmas as it really is. And the cool thing is that Linus, in his actions, the things that he holds on to that he thinks protects him, that when he hears the good news, he realizes that he doesn't need anything but the good news. The good news that God is born and comes to us and loves us and cares for us and saves us. And that because God has come, that God will bring peace and goodwill. And so as we gather in these Christmas days and you watch lots of different movies and you do all kinds of fun and crazy things, I want you to take a few minutes and to remember St. Linus and how he, in a brief moment, released those things that he was afraid of because he had the good news and he shared the good news. And he told us what Christmas is all about. Merry Christmas.